Happy very well indeed, very well indeed. Magicalmike back in as usual, very well indeed. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting topic today that we haven't discussed before actually. This is a topic which people ask me about, and they sent a Q&A about it basically. It's a topic about mysteries, unexplained forces, okay? Mysteries, unexplained things in life. Seriously, there are many mysteries in life, aren't there? Many unexplained areas in life. But people ask me, because I'm a magician, have I got an opinion about this kind of areas? Have I got an opinion about mysteries and magic kind of stuff? About UFOs and ghosts and poltergeists, and have a view about that kind of stuff? Psychic powers and spiritualism. What do I think about it? So I've got a Q&A here. People sent some emails into me with questions about kind of spiritualism, all kinds of weird things. What do I believe about it? Okay. And that kind of stuff, being a magician and studying magic for 40 years. What do I think about it all? Do I really think, you know, mysteries out there, all these things fake, or people dreaming these things up? So we'll have a look at now my Q&A. Okay, so just join me the next 10 minutes or so as I do Magicalmike Q&A about mysteries, okay, associated with magic and conjuring illusion, okay. So have a look at this one, okay. So here we go, guys, okay, let's go with it right now. Let's go with this right now. Here we're gonna go. So have a look at this right now. So thanks everybody sending in emails stuff to me over the last few months ago, a few weeks to say about emails, like questions about mysteries kind of stuff, mysteries, magic, kind of that kind of stuff. Do you believe in fortune telling? Do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe that kind of stuff? And what do I think of that as a magician? What do I think? I've been doing magic for 40 odd years since 10 years old and studied the art of deception, perception, psychology and magic and deception. What do I think about these kind of things? Do I think these things are real? Do I think these things are fake? Well, they just people just dreaming things up because people are just desperate to find something to entertain them. They really want to believe in ghosts and stuff. So look at this. So look at this. My question over here basically about these sort of things, and I think being a magician, magic teaches you a lot of stuff. I mean, magic teaches magic and mentalism, psychology. Magic teaches you illusion, psychology, mentalism. It teaches you all kinds of stuff seriously. Mentalism and mind reading basically, and judging psychology. And people often ask, you know, because I do magic, do I believe in ghosts, that kind of stuff. So we'll quick look at this over here now. I'll have a look at that. Questions are here. So basically, hi Magic, hi Mike, hi very indeed, hi Mike, this is Debbie from Colchester. Hi Colchester, very around Colchester. Debbie says, what's your take on UFOs? Do you believe in UFOs? And that kind of stuff, and aliens, UFOs? So I'm not really a UFO geek or freak, seriously. I'm not a kind of UFO geek. I do like Star Wars, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? I like that kind of stuff. I do like science fiction kind of stuff like you do, science fiction films and movies, Star Trek, I like that kind of stuff. But do I believe in spaceships and people coming to Earth? I think that's a good question, isn't it? You know, we live in a you know, big universe, don't we? We live with a trillion, we got a billion stars in the galaxy, a trillion galaxies basically. Apparently get trillion galaxies or billion galaxies basically out there in the universe. The universe is big, it's really big, isn't it? And of course, there are going to be some places, there probably are going to be some planets that probably the guys, they probably can visit us basically. And there's interesting stuff, isn't it? There are many cases of UFOs actually, aren't there? People actually, many websites on UFOs, there's many YouTube videos on UFOs. I have actually seen a UFO, I did see a UFO a year ago myself as well. I'm not really a UFO geek and freak, I'm not really freaky about UFOs. I have seen a UFO. I saw one over at Ardenlife Forest in Sussex. I must admit, it was interesting. I don't know whether it's real, was it drone, what was it? I don't know what it was. It was interesting. But anyway, what do I think about it? I think it's interesting subject, isn't it? I've got to just say that there are many high-profile UFO cases, of course, over the years, aren't there? Some very high-profile cases indeed about UFOs, aren't there? One of the big high-profile cases was, of course, the Berwyn incident. Berwyn, I think it was Wales. Berwyn was a big one back in 1970, 74, was it? That was a very high-level kind of UFO was seen hovering over some fields and a mountain in Berwyn in Wales, I think it was. There's also one, another major one came out years ago called PC Allen Godfrey. I think PC Allen Godfrey, what I heard about PC Allen Godfrey, but a place called Todmorden up in Yorkshire, or Lancashire, I think, Todmorden, near Blackburn kind of area. And again, PC Allen Godfrey went on television, I think a television show about 20 odd years ago with Michael Aspel. And he went on there and kind of admitted he saw a UFO hovering over a valley in Todmorden in Yorkshire, Lancashire area, and it hovered in the middle of the road. He looked at it and he threw a brick in it. So he said he threw a brick in it, would have hit it and would have gone bang. It was so solid. So it's interesting stuff, isn't it? That's interesting here, isn't it? As I say, these people do. This guy's a police officer, and he wasn't crazy or mad. He went on record and went and said, "I've actually seen a UFO. Really have seen one." Now, many police have seen him as well. We know that he's a police officer, PC Allen Godfrey. Hi, PC Allen Godfrey. You're watching this video. He must be quite old now, I should think, because quite a few years ago he saw it back in the 70s and 80s. I think he saw this UFO. So that's interesting, isn't it? And also there's another high profile one. There's one called Rendlesham Forest. You might have read about Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, isn't it? RAF Bentwaters, was it? I think it was RAF Bentwaters in Suffolk, wasn't it? And back in 1980, Christmas 1980, December 1980, this UFO, apparently triangular pyramid UFO, landed in the forest by RAF Bentwaters in Sussex. And sorry, it's Suffolk, sorry. Now, south of Norfolk, Suffolk in East England, basically, East Anglia. And this RAF base, anyway, so US Air Force base, actually, is this triangular pyramid UFO, apparently landed in forest there, apparently. People went and saw this thing. They got filmed, apparently, they recorded it, apparently. It was lit up in hieroglyphic symbols. It was in the middle of the forest. People actually went and touched it, apparently. It's all documented, as I say, on various videos on YouTube kind of stuff. And I think the MOD took it away, apparently. Apparently, they took it away, apparently, anyway. It took some details way back. So a lot of it still was confiscated. Nevertheless, I think this guys today, 40 years later, still admit they did see a UFO there. Don't know what it was. Very interesting thing. Again, is it real? Is it fake? What do you think about it? Leave comments about what you think about that. RF Bentwaters kind of thing back in 1980. It was a very big case, wasn't it? Of this big Rendlesham Forest, kind of big UFO case as well. And also it's interesting because, of course, I mean, years later, there haven't been many cases since that, have there? So that as big as that one. So how come it's happened then and doesn't happen now? It's interesting, isn't it? I've never actually seen many UFOs. I've seen some objects about, like you probably have, but I don't know if they're UFOs. They say 95% don't think UFOs actually looked at, examined, are known to be completely fake. They're not really UFOs that can explain away. About 5% or so apparently UFOs that are seen by people apparently are mysterious and can't be explained away. Now I know the Pentagon as well, I know Pentagon about a few months ago, Pentagon released some sort of statement, didn't they, saying that UFOs do exist. We don't know what they are. There are genuinely UFO objects out there. People don't really know what they are. US Air Force pilots, US Navy see these kind of objects and don't know what they are. So these objects do remain unexplained, but don't actually say they're aliens. They say they're unexplained objects, don't they? They don't really say what they really are, do they? So this area continues, doesn't it, as not knowing exactly what these objects are. Certainly there are definitely UFOs. Whether they're alien, I don't know, obviously, but there are UFOs out there, seriously. Big major UFO was seen, I think, in Roswell, 1945 or so. Roswell incident, and back in World War II, wasn't it? 1940s again, I think, around about 1945 again. There was a crash UFO. I see that, I think, in the middle of the desert, seriously, wasn't it, in this place called Roswell, New Mexico area of USA. And again, this thing again was crashed apparently, and there were bodies apparently, alien bodies. And apparently people actually saw, a lot of people saw this about it. This was seen by a lot of people apparently, seriously. And of course, we document again, YouTube videos of this again. So there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of data out there, isn't there, about it, say. There are many videos of the people who actually witnessed Roswell, of course, out there on YouTube again. So if you want to flick through YouTube, have a look at the videos of people who actually witnessed the UFOs and witnessed Roswell itself, and actually even apparently saw the aliens. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Again, was it a Russian experiment? Was it a Cold War experiment? What was it? You know, I don't know what it was. You know, was it real? Was it fake? Are these people time travelers? Are they actually us in the future coming back to us on Earth? Or are these people, are these real aliens coming from another world? But it's interesting because, of course, our modern science doesn't really explain exactly how people can travel, 10,000 light years, 10,000 light years across space to get here, basically. We know that we don't see any life ourselves in our solar system, do we, obviously? And travelling 10,000 light years, of course, is a long way. It's 10,000 years speed of light. It's a very big distance, isn't it? So these people, they are coming up to these distances. They obviously have very high level technology, allowing them to travel these massive distances, don't they, obviously? Because it seems impossible, according to our current kind of physics knowledge, really, Einstein's and stuff, we can't really travel these mass distances in space, can we? Without, obviously having many repercussions, and it's taking years to get here. So do these guys travel across space and taking years and years to get there? Why are they going through loopholes, time warps, kind of stuff to get here? Hard to say, isn't it? There's also a very good guy, of course, called Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar, there's a video about him on Netflix, isn't it? Netflix, isn't it? There's a big video about Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is an American guy. back in about 1989, came out on television USA and claimed that he'd been working for an area called S4, which is in Area 51, again, Area 51, Nevada. This is a big secret kind of place in Area 51, Nevada, desert, of course, secret kind of area. We know that, obviously, there's meant to be many secrets in there. And apparently Bob Lazar was working there during the 80s and 70s, apparently, as a student, kind of a technician or something, and was working on alien craft, apparently. And Bob Lazar's video is actually on Netflix, of course, as you might know about that. So it's interesting, Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar, of course, 30 years later, after going on television making claims about having experienced work with UFOs in Area 51, I have to say, obviously Bob Lazar has gone ahead, and years later, Bob Lazar has never actually said I'm a liar, has he, basically? And also, he has been examined psychologically, apparently, by people examining what he's saying, apparently. Some people think he's actually a faker. Some people think he's making it up, basically. He's kind of dreaming the whole thing up. Other people do believe Bob Lazar. But what do you think? Do you think Bob Lazar real? What do you think about Bob Lazar? Do you think Bob Lazar's a real thing? What do you think about Bob Lazar? Bob Lazar, is he a faker? Is he a dreamer? Is he making it all up? You know what I mean? What's this all about, Alien craft captured in S4 facility in Area 51. Is this really real? What's this stuff? What do you think about this? Seriously. Certainly, there are many people out there to say Bob Lazar's a faker, Bob Lazar's exaggerating, Bob Lazar's a liar. The people obviously going out saying Bob Lazar's real, Bob Lazar himself says I'm telling the truth. So it's interesting, but why would someone want to go on ruin the whole career by actually going on record and saying, look, I used to work with UFOs? No, it's interesting stuff, isn't it? I don't know what you think about it. Certainly, there's a lot of evidence there. I think there's this website called Third Phase of the Moon, isn't there? A big website, big YouTube channel, Third Phase of the Moon. Again, Third Phase of the Moon do an awful lot of stuff, don't they? Every week exposing kind of all kinds of craft and all kinds of alien ships apparently being seen, that kind of stuff. So seriously, much obviously being seen about, obviously, as you always know. But whether these things are real, I don't know. As I say, it's interesting. Do I believe in it? I think I do think it's possible they can visit us. I know that, certainly, I think the last man on the moon back in 1972, wasn't it? Was it Lovell or something? Well, I think when the last man on the moon, when the last 1972 Apollo moon landings, apparently one of the last astronauts that apparently went on record and said again, aliens are real. But as I say, I think a lot of people have, despite people claiming they're real, people and even astronauts saying they've seen stuff, it is a very interesting area, isn't it? As I say, definitely. From a scientific point of view, that obviously there are obviously millions, but probably I think there could be like 20 million planet Earths, 20 million planet Earths alone in our solar system as it is, Milky Way, okay, 20 million planet Earths. Imagine some of them are more advanced than us. So imagine if they can get the travel, 10,000 light years to get here, basically, could they do it? Possibly they could, Or is the explanation possibly that people who are visiting us are coming from us, from the future? You know what I mean? Is that us in the future coming to visit us? It's hard to say, isn't it? But certainly things are seen, definitely. We know that things are seen. There are many, many objects out there, basically. And in conclusion about this, basically, even all the evidence, it's likely there's something going on, isn't there? So obviously there may be something going on. We're going to find out more, as I say, in future on it. But let me know what you think about it. Do you believe in UFOs, being aliens? Do you think it's all fake? Think it's all mad people? Let me know what you think about it, seriously, okay? I'm on the fence. I do think it probably is real, to be honest, but as I say, there's a lot of people who are obviously lying, a lot of people are obviously exaggerating, and some things are definitely clearly not true, okay? But anyway, interesting stuff, isn't it? Have a look at it. What's number two? Number two, okay, what's your take on psychics? Do you believe in psychics and spiritualists, Mike? And this is from Anita down in Cameron in Essex. Okay, hi Anita, hope you're Anita down in Cameron. I don't know. What do you believe? What's your take on psychics and spiritualists? Okay, do you believe in psychics, spiritualists? Do you believe that kind of thing? Yes, I say it's interesting, isn't it? Now I'm kind of Christian. I do believe in God, I'm a kind of Christian family. I do kind of believe in that kind of stuff, so I do kind of believe that kind of thing. And I do think that probably life after death exists. I really do. I do think sometimes God can help us. Seriously, I do think, I do pray sometimes. I probably you pray sometimes. I sometimes do pray. I do often believe people who passed before me do sometimes kind of contact me a little bit. You know what I mean? I do think that. When I was a kid, I didn't believe it at all. Now, as a 50-year-old person, I kind of do sometimes believe people from other worlds, other people who've died, do sometimes help you out. I really do believe that sometimes, seriously. As I say, what do I think about it? What do I think about that? I do think it's possible people do come back into our lives if they've already died, seriously. Now, it's interesting. I think there's obviously a lot of charlatans, a lot of fakers in it. I know that there are many spiritualists who do spiritualist kind of readings for people. And I do kind of believe in it, you know what I mean? I do think it's interesting, isn't it? I would have said years ago it was definitely fake. I think the more I live life, the more I lived abroad and worked abroad, more sometimes I do feel the helping hand sometimes of someone possibly from another dimension helping me out a little bit. I do think so. Or sometimes when I pray, sometimes the prayers do get answered as well. So I do think it's interesting, isn't it, to say, definitely. I think there's nothing wrong with having spirituality, nothing wrong with having a faith, whether you're Muslim, Christian, whatever you are, Sikh, whatever you are. I think it's good to have faith, isn't it? Definitely. It's good to have some belief in a higher level force, or a higher level kind of being, as a kind of guide through your life, basically. It does help you out, definitely. Particularly my dad, of course, died a couple of months ago. I like to feel my dad, of course, is still around, you know what I mean? And also my granddad died 12 years ago. I like to feel my granddad's around as well. well. And so yes, I do kind of believe in it a little bit. I would have said years ago no. I think now I probably do believe in it a little bit, but I think there are some fakes and charlatans out there who do that kind of stuff. I know this guy called Kreskin used to do kind of spiritual kind of readings in America back in the 60s, 70s. I know he was faking it. And I know many people who do kind of do these kind of things, and they do kind of have little, they do spiritualist kind of things with big audiences. Doris Collins, Doris Stokes did it back in the 80s and 70s. I think Doris Stokes was a really famous medium, wasn't she? Contacting the dead kind of thing. She had but as I say, she claims she's real. No, but whether or not these people get hits, whether people are actually faking it, whether people are not. Whatever you think about this, it's a very grey area, because obviously there are charlatans, there are people doing it for real. I think, to be honest, I think it's a good service, whether you believe it or not, okay? It's a good service. People feel happy about it, don't they? They feel happy anyway in themselves, don't they? Get told someone from the dead's helping them out. And I think in a way it's quite harmless, really, in many ways, to be honest. I think it just help people out, you know, spiritually, mentally, to do that. If someone's passed away, give them a little bit of help. But that's a very difficult area to say, isn't it? I think it's a very grey area, isn't it? You know? But there are definitely fakers, definitely people who are real about it. And I do think it's an interesting subject to talk about, isn't it? I do think Doris Stokes was very believing what she believes seriously. I do think some of the other ones who do it nowadays do kind of believe very clearly what they do. They obviously believe that they offer good service. I do think Darren Brown, because Darren Brown did a very good probably YouTube for expose a medium, and so when the medium in Liverpool kind of was a bit of fake, he wasn't real, he wasn't getting much of it right, he was using a lot of techniques. There are techniques, of course, if you study kind of magic, it's a thing called cold reading, which you can kind of get clues of certain people and use some kind of clues, kind of get ideas off them as to what they're kind of doing, kind of thing, and what their life's about. It's called cold reading, basically, and you can use cold reading as a way to find out things about people, basically. And also there's many techniques, including Barnum questions, cold reading, other kinds of use to kind of get tricks and get information out of people, basically. Okay, so people kind of give you information, but it looks like you're giving them information, you know what I mean? So it's kind of clever kind of way of tricking your way into kind of doing this kind of stuff, basically, and doing spiritual readings for people. But in truth, actually, the person's giving you the information more than you're giving them the information. It's called cold reading kind of stuff. Now, it's an interesting area. I do believe in that kind of stuff. I do think that's very true, definitely. People do that kind of stuff seriously, particularly if they're doing a big show and they want to get some big results. They're going to do a bit of fakery, and doing the fakery, they're going to do some cold reading, they're going to do some bond question kind of stuff. The bond question kind of random questions you can ask with general kind of answers, you know what I mean? So yes, I do think there's a lot of fakery in it. I think it can be faked, but I think sometimes it may tip into reality as well, where there's sometimes actually some real contact with people from the other side. Good stuff, seriously. Good question, isn't it? That's good. I like the one, Anita. Thanks a lot, Anita. So what do I think about it? Yes, I think it's possible it can definitely happen, okay? I do think on the other hand, also, having said that, I think it's quite easy to do the fakery as well, okay, with it. So as I say, there are charlatans out there, and I think there are a good many charlatans who do it, basically, and use trickery to do it. Having said that, I think it can be done for real as well, possibly. So it's an interesting area, isn't it? So and a bit like UFOs, I think, as I say, this is a bit of an area which the jury's out a little bit on. I think we're quite away from finding out the truth about it, basically. But I think we will find the truth about it more in the future about it, basically. But it's interesting, isn't it? But if you're a spiritual person and you believe in God anyway, and you believe in Jesus, and you believe, or you have a faith anyway, I think it's quite a good thing to kind of like, you know, kind of, like, as I say, kind of have some open-mindedness to this kind of stuff, and not close your mind to it. Have open-minded to this kind of area, basically. And maybe it can help you out, particularly if you're struggling in life or depressed. Sometimes these things can really help you have a better life, you know what I mean? Feel a bit happy and more open, you know what I mean? So I think it's quite a good thing in that kind of way. And in many ways, it's quite harmless, isn't it? Whenever you think about it, people do come away, even if they paid the money for it, they come away quite happy, entertained, have enjoyed the experience of meeting a spiritualist medium. But it's interesting stuff, isn't it? So there you are. Yes, I think it's possibly partly real and partly fake. I think it's definitely better. Do you believe? What else? Do you believe in life after death and out-of-body experience? I do believe in life after death. I do believe in life after death. So my dad died a couple of months ago, and there might be people actually this year, unfortunately, who died, and there might be people I know, unfortunately. I would hate to feel that they don't going to go anywhere. Basically, I do believe in life after death. Obviously, I think if you come from a spiritual background, I think that's very. I kind of do a little bit. I do think, obviously, that I think you're going to have generally going to have an open mind to kind of spirituality and all that kind of stuff. But out-of-body experience, of course, is an area where people float out of the bodies, don't they? Many people have this good experience where they float out of the bodies and float around the place and float back in the body again, kind of thing. You know what I mean? This goes on an awful lot, doesn't it? Out-of-body experiences. There are many cases going back decades and decades. Sometimes people are hit by cars. Sometimes people fall off a motorbike and they float out of the car and they look down on themselves, basically in the car, on the motorbike, lying on the ground. They have to see their body lying dead where they're floating up above them, basically. This goes on an awful lot, doesn't it, obviously? There are many cases. There's actually people who actually said they've been to heaven as well. They've actually been to heaven for 20 minutes or something, you know what I mean? They've actually have physically died. They've been proven to be dead in the hospital, and they claim they've been to heaven, you know what I mean? Now, maybe because many psychologists, I think Dr. Susan Blackmore, many psychologists like her, many psychologists like James Randi, and magicians are cynical about it. They think it's psychological. They think a lot of it's to do with the brain shutting down and being sent down a tunnel of light kind of thing, because the brain's shutting down kind of thing. And I know some people also have seen bizarre things in these things, particularly when they die. They travel down the light, basically, the light tunnel kind of thing. The light tunnel's been lined with TV sets kind of things. They sometimes if they're Buddhists, for example, they see an image of Buddha, and sometimes often when they're Christians, they see an image of Jesus Christ when they're going down the tunnel kind of thing. So basically, this light tunnel business and out-of-body experiences where people die, they do see symbols, don't they, of the particular religion that they belong to, okay, not just a general religion. So, interesting area, isn't it? As I say, it's interesting, isn't it? And some people obviously do, one or two people have also claimed, of course, as I say, when they've had out-of-body experiences were completely fake, basically. What happened in reality wasn't going on in their mind, that they think they dreamt the thing anyway. So, interesting. But can the brain create this? Can the brain create light tunnels? Can the brain create a kind of heaven? You know what I mean? It's when you kind of die, basically, and there's a heaven kind of created inside your brain, and then, of course, when you come back to life again, because you're revived by a doctor, you kind of like, you know, suddenly go back to normality again, you know what I mean? And you're okay again. So it's the dying brain, the brain starving oxygen. Is that kicking off some sort of chemicals, limbic system kicking off in the middle of the brain, making you feel pleasurable, you know what I mean? And we know that kind of does happen, doesn't it? Where the limbic system in the brain kicks off and makes you feel pleasurable. And of course, oxygen levels go down and you start feeling kind of high, you know what I mean? You might be dying, but you're actually going, your brain's kicking in with those chemicals. Is that creating heaven, or what's going on, seriously? Or is heaven real? Do you know what I mean? It's interesting, isn't it? But people do see things. These things do definitely happen. Okay? There's many videos out there. Check them out on YouTube. The videos people have been to heaven, gone down light tunnels, they've flown out of their bodies. How many videos? It's interesting, isn't it? It's a fascinating area, isn't it? I think, do I believe in it? I think I do believe in it. I do believe it, actually, seriously. I think it's an area that's very fascinating. But all these people making it up, you know what I mean? All these people, these kids, these people making this stuff up, I don't know. What do you think? It's interesting, isn't it? Is the brain dying, making people hallucinate? Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's to say. People who take LSD, they kind of often claim LSD kind of takers often see things, don't they, when they're taking LSD. But to be honest, to be really, really frank, I wouldn't say realistically that drugs and that kind of stuff will definitely create certain effects when the brain's dying. Of course, it does create some kind of effects, doesn't it? Obviously, so obviously there's something going on there. But I think yes, it's quite possible there is some kind of a possibility of leaving the body and flying up to another sort of realm. It's possible it does happen seriously. So I'm not going to say no to that one. I think it's not definitely fake anyway. Okay, there you are. That's what I think about that. Basically, the answer probably is out-of-body experiences, life after death. Yes, I think I do believe in it definitely. Okay. What do you take on ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts? Okay. Do you believe in ghosts? Another question as well. Do I believe in ghosts? Yes, I do believe in ghosts, actually. I've seen that ghost myself, actually. I was in my house when my little boy was about a year old or so. Then in the house I was living in Broadfield in Crawley about 20 odd years ago. And I remember literally I moved into the house basically, and I had kind of stuff being moved in the house. I had my little boy had a little cup of a glass of orange squash. And something moved it basically. Something moved the glass of orange squash in the house. Really interesting. He was a little baby basically. I remember this thing. I went in the kitchen, came out of the kitchen, and something had moved a glass of orange squash. Really interesting, isn't it? The doorbell was ringing. I had a kid's toys moved about the place. I also had a kid's like a radio thing was playing. It kind of switched off and played itself. You know, kids kind of toy radio thing switched itself on its own. You know, when I was sat there. So this house was interesting. So this house was haunted apparently. Someone actually told me somebody had died in the house basically a year before. So when I moved into the house, there was not a bad atmosphere in the house, but I did sense a sense of something really weird going on there. And I have to say, to be honest, after about a week or so of this kind of stuff, it was really freaking. The activity kind of calmed down a little bit basically. It didn't continue all the time, but the activity did kind of carry on a little bit, to be honest. It was very interesting indeed. I don't know exactly what caused activity basically. But what do I think about it? Do I think it's really real? I don't know what I think about it seriously. It's very interesting, isn't it? What to say about that? It was really freaky, I must say. Now, that was the only time I really come across a ghost. I think I was also talking to a voice from nowhere, basically. It was about 10 years old as well. I lived in Peterborough, so that did happen as well. So I've had a couple of experiences myself where I think I've come across kind of poltergeist activity, basically, ghost activity in my own life. Now, there are many videos on that again on YouTube, many books about ghosts. This is a big area again. Many people believe in ghosts, okay? Have you seen a ghost? Leave comments below if you believe in ghosts, seriously. You believe that kind of stuff? It's interesting, isn't it? Is it in the mind or is it in the real reality out there? It could be in the mind, couldn't it? It could be in the mind, seriously, couldn't it? It could be your mind creating these kind of things. Is it madness? Is it drugs? Is it too much alcohol? What is it? Is it even cigarettes? What is it? You know, interesting, isn't it? I've got to say, to be honest, it's interesting, isn't it? I think personally, from what I experienced myself, I've seen that cup kind of move kind of business. It's interesting. It appeared to me to be poltergeist activity. And there's no reason why they can't exist. Now, there's many places, of course. There's many big stories about poltergeists, aren't there? There's a house in Ealing, wasn't it? The famous Ealing poltergeist, wasn't it? Of course, remember the house with the two little girls, wasn't it? The Ealing poltergeist, like 77, I think, wasn't it? Where that house in Ealing was haunted, wasn't it? There were many things moved about the house, wasn't it? And there was two little girls in the house. That was the Ealing kind of haunting was a very big. I think Ealing, Ilford, wasn't it? I think it was, but it was a very famous kind of haunting, wasn't it, of a house, basically, with poltergeists around the house, basically. And this kind of all over the news, all over the world, this kind of house. So these things obviously do happen, obviously. On top of that, I've met many people actually seen ghosts. Some people actually met ghosts. I actually had somebody who was attacked by ghosts, apparently. I've had somebody also who lived in the house in the Isle of Wight. Apparently, this ghost apparently appeared in the cellar. Apparently, he saw the mist. Also, had somebody actually had a person knocking on the front door as a ghost when they're living in a house up in Scotland, up in a place called Inverness, Scotland. I think it was near Inverness area in Scotland. Basically, with a haunted house there. My mum used to go and stay there when she was a teenager. And when I went back to the house, my mum actually met the person who owned the house, and apparently he was into ghosts. So apparently there's a woman knocking on the front door of the house. Every now and then you see her knocking on the front door of the house, and she wasn't really there. So these things kind of go on. It's very interesting, isn't it? My dad actually saw ghosts as well. We're living in a village called Hawley in Oxfordshire, near Banbury. A kind of person walked past a window one time. My dad went out to see who it was, and the person just disappeared entirely. So out there. So these things kind of go on. And that house was actually a very old church. It was a 1,000-year-old church, basically. A place called Hawley, near Bloxham, there in Banbury area. So my dad saw ghosts as well. So it's interesting stuff. My dad was a bit freaked about it. Seriously, it was about 20 odd years ago again. Whether something in time and space kind of is bending and people are seeing these things, whether these things are like video camera being played back through the wall or something, you know, somebody actually even saw Roman army coming through a castle. I think that maybe exaggerated a little bit. There was somebody, I think, on a building site which has been a monastery 500 years ago, and they're digging the building site, perhaps a couple of monks who were 500 years old, you know what I mean, with their legs kind of missing, you know. So people do see these things. These are things documented on television. You see these things documented. These are all documented kind of cases, you know what I mean. These are real cases. So it's interesting, isn't it? It's weird, isn't it? I don't want to think about it. I don't like talking about it particularly. It kind of spooks me out a little bit. But it's interesting, isn't it? Okay, and I have to say, there's no reason why it shouldn't exist, and modern science doesn't explain it, does it? So, lots to say about it, basically. But what do you think about it? Leave comments below what you think about it. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you think it's all fake, people dreaming it up kind of thing? It's all trickery? People hallucinating again? What do you think about it, seriously? What can I say about it? Interesting subject, isn't it? Is it real? Possibly real, but I do believe in ghosts, definitely. Okay, it's an interesting area, isn't it? And I believe everything, basically. I think a lot of these things probably are real, actually, to be honest, aren't they? Last thing I hear, what do you think about, do you believe in Lochness Monster? Do you believe in Loch Ness Monster? This has come from Gaze up in Bishop Stortford. Hi Gaze, hope you're well, Gaze. Do you believe in Loch Ness Monster? Okay, do you believe in Loch Ness Monster? Loch Ness Monster, okay, so interesting. Loch Ness Monster, of course, was it's been a massive era, hasn't it? Loch Ness Monster, of course, was a very big thing back about 34 years ago. Hasn't seen an awful lot, has he, in the days, has he, since about 1970s, has he? I think Loch Ness Monster kind of began about 100 years ago, didn't it? Up in Loch Ness. I've been there myself, a Dromedrocket, of course. There's a big museum of Dromedrocket up in Loch Ness, where there's about 1,000 pictures of images of the Loch Ness Monster, basically. Some are very good, some of them are real, some of them are fake, obviously, as well. I know some of them are definitely fakes. There are many things. I think Loch Ness is the same monster. I think Loch Ness itself, the question is, what is the monster, okay? Because what is actually the monster in there, do you know what I mean? make, sell monsters, monsters to make money, monsters to make tourism, you know what I mean? Bring the money in, you know what I mean? Bring the cash in. So nothing wrong with it as a money-making device, is it, basically say. But the lake was formed well after dinosaurs lived, obviously. But this is meant to be a dinosaurs thing, isn't it, obviously? And obviously this dinosaur would have lived, obviously would have, well, it's made extinct millions, well, it would have made extinct about, you know, I think 80 million years before the loch was created, actually. So how exactly happened, I don't know exactly how the loch could have formed post the dinosaurs. Top of that as well, I think the Loch Ness Monster could be a big tourist thing as well, definitely. I mean, I never saw anything of it myself. People do apparently see it occasionally, but there's been an awful lot of video cameras in the last 20, 30 years, haven't there, with these kind of video cameras, people filming stuff. Yet there's very, very little evidence, isn't it? Last 30 odd years since they invented the old video camera on the phone, didn't they? There's very little more evidence, isn't there, with these little phone cameras of this Loch Ness Monster. So the Loch Ness Monster seems to have disappeared, isn't it, basically? I don't know what's happened to it, basically. But when it was bigger in the 70s and 80s, wasn't it? As we got more cameras, it seems to got even less apparent than normal, hasn't it? So, Loch Ness Monster like the Yeti, these kind of monsters and these kind of things, are these things real? I don't know. It's very hard to say, isn't it? I don't think I believe in the Yeti either. The Yeti's another big one, isn't it? But I do believe possibly Loch Ness Monster possibly is not really real. I think it probably is something else probably that's been mistaken for, or exaggeration of being a monster, basically. It's interesting, as I say. I don't want to ruin tourism in Scotland, basically. But the evidence in recent years has been very low, and that indicates to me, and even the scan the loch, that and the loch again, when scanning the loch again, they found very little evidence as well after scanning the whole loch with sonar kind of stuff. You know what I mean? With the lack of photographic evidence the last 30 years, with more cameras appearing, then obviously there's very little recent evidence at all of it. Wants to basically say. So in recent years, lack of evidence makes it less real, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's what I think about it. You know, as I say, whether it's or not, it makes an awful lot of cash, doesn't it? Which is good news for the economy, isn't it? Up in Loch Ness, isn't it? And by God, they need that area of Britain. They need a bit of money coming in. You know what I mean? In that kind of part of Scotland, seriously. Anyway, hope that's all very good for you. So have a chat about that. There's a bit of Q&A from people, as I say, about UFOs, ghosts. What do I think about psychic powers? What do I think about kind of Loch Ness Monster? What do I think about spiritualism and out-of-body experiences? All interesting stuff, isn't it? Hope you enjoyed it, whatever you do. Please remember to like, please do. Please subscribe, please do as well. Please remember to click links below for 140 videos. So say magic, chat, please do, okay? Made many videos there. Please click links below for all those videos, please do, okay? As I say, remember to please like and subscribe, please do. Help the channel out as well, please do, okay? Look after yourselves a few more days, okay? We'll do some more magic again later on as well. And thanks for all the questions. Please send more questions, please do. If you have any more questions, please send the questions to me as well, please do, okay? Look after yourselves a few more days, okay? Once you're subscribed, see you again very, very soon for some more magic chat and illusion, okay? See you later on, and bye for now.